New York's classic rock, Q1043.
I want to introduce you to Teresa Younger. She is the CEO and president for the Ms. Foundation for Women. And of course, our whole world changed a week ago Friday.
Yes.
When the United States Supreme Court threw out a close to 50-year-old decision that had legalized abortion for the country. First of all, even though the information was leaked that made us believe this was likely coming, were you surprised by the decision at all?
Wow. Actually, because it was leaked, it actually gave, I think, so many of us a preparation to understand what the fight was going to look like. What I think I was surprised about was Thomas's consent and decision that aligned it. Because what that decision, what he was writing about was that we need to go back and overlook all of these things. And, you know, if we go all the way back to Griswold v. Connecticut, that is where the institution of privacy was actually recognized. And in so many ways, the decision around Dobbs, which was rolling back Roe v. Wade, is actually also a look at privacy rights. The idea that though the Constitution doesn't say it, it is implicit that we would have privacy rights. And what Thomas said, as well as the Supreme Court said in their decisions, were that we should take a look at all of these kinds of things. And that is more terrifying for me than just the decision. The decision, you know, I have to be quite honest with you. When the leak came out and when the decision came out, I was sick to my stomach. And like many, I cried. And I realized that this is now and has always been a long-term battle. I oftentimes say this, for so many of us who have been doing reproductive rights and justice work, access to abortion and bodily autonomy work on the state level, we have been doing that work for a very long time. And women of color have been doing that work for a very long time, fighting these battles in all of these states. This, on some level, is what I call a white women's wake-up call to this moment in time, because they all believed, so many believed, that the Supreme Court would never overturn its own precedent, and it did that in this time.
Right, because it's almost a 50-year precedent. Okay, let's go back to what Clarence Thomas had said, because I believe the other justice came about revisiting, for example, gay marriage, and also looking at contraception. Do you really believe that these are possibly the next targets?
Yes.
Legally?
Yes. I think we are naive to think that this Supreme Court is going to respect bodily autonomy, is going to understand that people have a right to make decisions, is going to be able to love who they love, because I believe that so many on the current Supreme Court are religious zealots. They are not imposing the law, and they are looking at the Constitution as a purist form. We can't take a document that was written in the 18th century and apply it to the changes in society that we have today. And so, you know, I fear very much so that we will see an option and an opportunity for all of these laws, whether it is marriage equality, whether it has to do with contraception, whether it has to do with second parent adoption. There are a whole bunch of laws. How this will affect all of the don't say gay laws and the anti-trans laws. And I think all of that plays in. And I think it's very real that this Supreme Court will take every opportunity to overturn any decisions they did not agree with originally.
What is the game plan for the Ms. Foundation?
So the game plan is going to be much of what we have been doing with some expansion. There's a couple of things we're doing. We have supported grassroots mobilization and movement building for years. We are going to continue to do that. And we are going to be challenging philanthropy and individuals to really start trusting those folks on the ground in their communities to do what they need to do, whether that means connecting people so that we can get women over borders and make sure they have access to medicated abortion, or whether that means organizing people to get them to their state capitals, whatever that looks like. We are also really taking a look at all of the areas that we're not talking about in this conversation. We're not talking about system-involved youth who, for whatever reason, the state is now their parent. Well, if the state is your parent and you now live in Louisiana or in Texas, boy, that's some really bad parenting that's going on, right? And so we need to look at those. We need to look at those who are also court-involved adult women who cannot travel if they want to have access to an abortion in some of these states. We're looking at that. We're also supporting and lifting up actively a new fund that we are putting together called Building the Fire Fund. There is no independent Indigenous women's reproductive justice organization in this country. And so what we are doing is supporting that community to come together and to build their own organization, because what happens in Indian country and on reservations is very different when it comes to healthcare. And we need those women to speak for themselves about what kind of healthcare they want and how to tell their stories about what's going on. So we're going to continue to do all of that. And we're going to be showing up in places and holding conversations with philanthropy and other spaces about what we need to be doing. And, this is an aspect of it. We believe at the Ms. Foundation that this is about collective power, and this is about the long haul. So, we're in the ultimate marathon now. This is about pacing ourselves, giving ourselves grace to figure it all out, and giving ourselves some space to create safe and brave spaces for people to, one, tell their stories, and two, stay inspired that we can change what is happening in the Supreme Court by changing what is happening on the state level. And by doing that, we can change all the state laws. And we can do that by having more women, more people of color, more individuals who are aligned with a democracy that is inclusive, be part of their state level elected offices.
I am speaking with the president and CEO of the Ms. Foundation for Women, Teresa Younger. When it comes to ending unwanted pregnancies, what is the predominant form is really now the morning after pill, not actually abortions. And in fact, that has become the latest shortage at CVS and Walmart and other stores. And they're actually now limiting the number of Plan B packages you can buy on any one occasion because there is a shortage. Do you think these are in danger as well of being outlawed?
Not if the federal government has anything to do with it. And I think this is where we can rely on some level of the federal government that's not controlled by the Supreme Court or by the legislature. This actually is controlled by the FDA. And we have heard from the administration, the Biden administration, that they will do everything possible to ensure that women have access to the day after pill and other kind of medicated abortion pills. The reality to all of that is that there are real conversations going on about how to make these pills accessible to people and to push back against the lies that are being told about the dangers of these pills. They are safe. The FDA has shown that they are safe. Women time after time after time, and birthing people time after time after time have been able to use these medicated processes to stop an abortion, or to stop a pregnancy, to eliminate a pregnancy as they see fit for the decisions that they need to make. What's most scary for me about all of this is not just that we've taken away women's bodily autonomy, not just that we have, taken away their privacy rights. We're talking about in Louisiana, they're talking about being able to go into people's homes and see what they have in their medicine cabinet. That's ridiculous, right? But at the end of the day, some of the things that really scare me about all of this is that we're no longer trusting women. We're no longer trusting 50+% of our population in this country. And this is a human rights infringement. When we saw this happening in other countries, and we are not the first country to see rights rolled back. So we need to look at other countries and find our motivation from what they are doing. The idea of medicated abortions and medicated access to being able to eliminate the possibility of even becoming pregnant, if that is your choice, that is something that we must continue to do. And we know that there is a commitment out there by many. We have to remember the majority of people in this country believe that women and pregnant people and birthing people should have control over their bodies. And so that includes those industries and pharmacies that are putting together these medications, and they will continue to do so.
The people who had organized the opposition to abortion have been very, very busy over the last 50 years, and they never gave up.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of the issue, there were things that actually could have been done to possibly prevent a high court, even though you wouldn't think that the U.S. Supreme Court would overturn a half-century old decision.
Yeah.
But these things weren't done on the other side. Do you think that the ball was dropped? Do you think that there were any lessons learned through this? I mean, there were strategies here.
Yes.
That ended in victory. Really thought out strategies.
Yeah. So, yes, there were things that Congress could have done at any given time when there were the majority that they chose not to do. They could have codified Roe into making it actual real law as opposed to just leaving it to the courts. They absolutely could have done that. And let's be really clear, the Republican Party and those who believe that a woman's right for choice should not be their own right, but should be dictated by the state, they had a long game plan. They had a long game plan and they stuck to that game plan. And if we thought that the majority was the reason why laws shouldn't get passed, that's actually not right. Black people would still be enslaved. Women would not have the right to vote. I mean, if it was really about going with whatever we believe the majority needed to do, this is about what we should be doing that is right for society. So I hope Congress has learned. I hope we don't just ask these insane questions of Supreme Court justices that say, do you believe we should be overturning the precedent of Roe? And then they sit in front of us and say, well, that's precedent. We would never touch that, because we know that that is a lie. They went into those conversations for their appointments and they lied on the stand because they knew that this was where they wanted to go. And if you add all those votes together, that's where they ended up. We, on the other side, those who believe in justice and democracy and human rights, we must speak up. We must not get tired. We have to continue this fight for the long haul because it is the freedoms of all of us, not just the freedoms of women and birthing people. This decision has so many spillovers and in so many areas that we are going to need to stay diligent and we are going to need to stay present on every one of these conversations. And we're going to need to find our voice. The idea that politicians, are going to do what we want them to do because they said they would do it is not right. We have to hold them accountable for the decisions they say they're going to make. We have to ask them explicitly from the floor of town halls how they will react. And when they don't react the way we want them to, then we have to vote them out of office. And we can't just go, well, but they said. You know what? If anything we've seen is we cannot trust states because there are upwards of 26 states which will eliminate or restrict abortion. And we have to vote them out if they're not going to do it. And then, the decisions around the Supreme Court and what should be happening. Should we have more Supreme Court justices? Should people be, quote unquote, impeached as being a justice? Those are decisions that will still take a very long time. And the decision of Dobbs will affect the lives of women and birthing people yesterday, right? So we have to actually start taking action immediately, challenging states that are so restrictive right now, and then creating options. If you have 5 minutes in your day and you have $5 in your pocket, you should be making a contribution to an abortion action fund. You should be identifying organizations that you feel you want to support. And if you don't know, you should look at intermediaries like the Ms. Foundation, who has vetted different organizations and help us move money to there. You should take time off. If you have the ability to take time off, contact those organizations and find out how you can be helpful. If you can drive a car, if you can babysit children, if you can open your home, there are a lot of things that people can do and not just be held, victim to the whole process.
Thank you so much, Teresa Younger. She is the CEO and president of the Ms. Foundation for Women. If you missed any part of this conversation, download the iHeartRadio app. It is free. And my conversations on Sunstein Sunday live on as the podcast Sunstein Sessions. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning on the Jim Kerr Rock and Roll Morning Show, Q104.3.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.